Hello and welcome to the Long Talk here on New Zealand Sport Radio. And we have an absolute cracker for us today. We've got our second ever All Black on the show. And joining me to do this interview, I've got Stephen Harris. So Stephen, do you want to give people a quick kind of hint as to who we're going to bring on next?
Well, he's definitely a legend in the region that I hail from up in Northland, and in my opinion, he's one of the great outside backs that has come out of the Northland area. You could put him right up there with guys like Dennis Panther, Norm Berryman in recent time. Even though Norm played centre, I know this man we're about to introduce also played at centre as well. But I think if you genuinely gave him a rugby ball, he'd probably play anywhere on a rugby field. So we're blessed to have this man. He's a former All Black, definitely a legend in the Northern area, and of course well loved in this Blues franchise area as well. So I'll probably go ahead and introduce him. Rene Ranger, fantastic to have you on board today.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Appreciate being on the show, and cheers for the induction.
Now, one of the things that I've noticed about the Taniwha out there in Northland is big hair. Is there some sort of there some sort of rule that to be part of the Taniwha you've got to have big hair? Is that kind of something that they that some sort of team culture?
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose a lot of the boys up north are pretty rugged, so there's not too much of the old fancy hairstyles. You know, the boys just like to just let their hair grow, or beards or whatnot, you know. It's almost, it's kind of caught on to a theme, and all the boys just started chucking out the old long hair, dreadlocks or afros. So a bit of a theme up there, I guess.
So that wasn't because obviously there's you, there was and Dan Pryor, also he's another guy with big dreads. So there wasn't some sort of, okay, guys, this is dreads year. Everyone, you've all got to have dreads if you want to be part of the kind of the leadership team.
Oh, yeah. I suppose I think Dan Pryor was the first one to get dreads. Like there was actually a few of us that were actually came to get some dreads, and I ended up getting some, and then Matty Wright ended up getting some, and then I think the following year, young Petty Joe ended up getting some. So it could kind of caught on with the dreadlocks, and then if it wasn't dreadlocks, it was a bit of an afro or just longish hair.
See, Stephen's just sat there, basically being jealous, going, "God, I wish I could do that." Let's go right back then. What was your first ever rugby memory?
First ever?
Yep.
Oh, I guess playing, what was it, under fives, under six with bare feet on the old cold grass, and yeah, that's probably the fondest memory I had back in. I think I was in Warkworth at the time. I was pretty young back then, and then if it wasn't Warkworth, it was Tomarata. Another moment where I kind of started playing a bit of footy with a lot of friends and stuff, bare feet first, and then we were pretty stoked to start playing in boots. So you'd always try and get the flashiest boots, but sometimes that wouldn't work out. You just got what you got given, I guess.
And this was, we're talking, 4-5, full contact, none of this messing around with sort of ripper rugby or touch?
Yeah, she was pretty much full contact when I was playing in bare feet. So, there's a lot of good tackles back then, or scragging, or what you call it back then, but there was no ripper.
But obviously, as a thing to look after the young little kids, bare feet, so the rucking wasn't quite so dangerous. Maybe.
Yeah, well, exactly. There was rucking back then when you were a little kid too, but I suppose the kids never really knew to really ruck back then. It's just if you just got stood on, you kind of moved out of the way anyway.
Are you another one that used to get up in the middle of the night to watch overseas All Blacks tests as well? Did your dad get you up with a mug of Milo in front of the fire, watching those sort of games at 3 o'clock in the morning?
No, not. To be honest, I wasn't that type of kid that really got into watching the All Blacks. But you know, when you got a bit older with your friends, you know, that they were, when you had your sleepovers, then you would be keen to watch the All Blacks up early in the mornings. But no, I never really got the old man to wake me up and stuff like that. I was probably too busy worried about you know, playing rugby with the mates.
Oh, so it's more you're more a player than a watcher. The opposite of me, who basically doesn't like getting squashed. So looking at this, you didn't follow a lot of people in Northland. They come down to play first 15 rugby in Auckland. You stayed up there in Rodney College. You didn't make that move south.
Yeah, nah. Well, I think when I was in Rodney College, I don't think I was any good at rugby. You know, I just played for the fun of it with the lads. You know, I wouldn't think rugby would be a career for me at the time. I was more playing rugby just to hang with mates, and you know, as the generation moved on, a lot of the kids around Rodney, you know, further up north, start getting those what do you call it when you get those tuitions or whatever to go play first 15 and other schools and stuff. Like, I don't think they really had that when I was playing at school. So I don't know, it wasn't a big worry for me back then. I was just playing rugby for mates.
So when did you kind of twig that rugby could be a career rather than just hanging out with mates?
I guess when I played a bit of age group through with Northland, you know, making under 19s and under 20s. And it wasn't until after I played under 20s with Northland, and then Northland had the development team under the NPC team, and then I got exposed to a lot more coaches told me, like, oh, you know, you could really have a shot here, Rene, if you know, have a decent crack. And then I suppose, the 1 year I made the development, I played all right, but then I was working at the time as well. So I was like, probably the following year actually, when you know, this was back in 2006, I think, when Mark Enskin was the coach for Northland, and you have like the certain high performance group, and I know there's a squad of like 40 or 50, and it always gets cut back, and I always got caught into some of them, but never making it up to trainings and stuff like that, just through work. So I told them, I was like, well, I'm not going to bother. I'm going to just stick to work. You know, I can't afford to lose money working and stuff like that. And then literally the following month, I made the second to last cut. So I was like, well, if they're picking me, I might as well have a decent crack. And then, fair enough, I ended up getting picked, and it kind of just took off there, like kind of like straight away, and it kind of went up pretty fast for me, because, you know, I didn't know what high performance rugby was back then, and I was just playing club and stuff like that.
Wow. What work were you doing?
I was working in Wellsford. There was the Borahini's construction, so just, you know, drain laying on the road sites, and, you know, stop and go, just a bit of everything there, drain laying and just civil works, bit of everything. I've had a fair few jobs before Northland kind of kicked off, which was I guess for me a bit of a blessing, you know. Kind of I wasn't too good at school, so try and get a few trades under my belt.
So you went from digging by the side of the road, laying drains, to going over to somewhere like Dubai in South Africa with the Sevens in the space of about 2 or 3 months. That's
pretty much.
When you say meteoric rise, that's pretty quick to go from not thinking it's even a career to playing international rugby for the Sevens with Gordon Titchens. How did he find it?
He found me pretty raw and pretty fresh, and I think there's a lot of coaches and players, you know, they looked at me of kind of like a shock. Like, I was pretty rugged, and, you know, from playing Northland in 2006, then I get picked for Gordon Titchens' Sevens team, and then I got picked for the Blues wider back then, and it was just like that, you know. It was just straight up. It was pretty surreal at the time, and I didn't know what to expect. It was just all kind of thrown at me.
So you and again, there's some people and players will look at this going, how? Because your nutrition, were you nice salads, lean chickens, or chicken breasts and all that kind of stuff in the evening, or proper nutrition, or was it pies and all that kind of stuff? And yeah, in this high performance thing, as you say, totally
exactly. Like back then, my nutrition was, it wasn't the greatest. Like, I was in 18, 19, and drinking with mates and eating whatever, and then you get thrown into like a professional environment, and it's just like, you got to try and stick on a strict diet, and you got to train, pretty much every day, and it was pretty hectic at the start, but you learn pretty quickly, and being in that sevens environment, like, it's probably the fittest I've ever been, actually. And Gordon Tishin and his his nutritionist is like, it's just a whole nother level above to work at.
Because he's someone who has a reputation for not taking any shit, as it were. I mean, he's a bit of a strict coach.
Oh, strict on training, strict on diets. Just he's a full on man, but he's an honest fella, and what I liked about him is he said what he thought and what he thinks. So, like, that's kudos to me. Like, if he didn't say like proper, like, honest opinions about me, I don't think I'd almost be playing rugby in some sort of ways.
So two key guys there in your development, Mark Anscombe in selecting you and getting you into that Northland team, and then Gordon Titchens, those two coaches who I guess took you from, or basically told you could be a pro. This could be your life, right? Yeah,
exactly. Mark Anscombe kind of gave me, he gave me that opportunity to play for Northland, and give it a decent crack. He's seen something in me, I guess, and then with being in Titchen's group, with his honesty and just with his, his professionalism of being a professional athlete, he told me I could go to go places, and if I try and stick to it. So yeah, it was kind of good. I quite enjoyed having Gordon Titchens as a coach.
And you had, sorry, go on, Stephen.
I've got a quick question, Rene. I know that the Wellsford area is very close to your heart, and you came across from Tomarata to play for Wellsford, and yourself and Whiti Vanakola were terrorising defences in club rugby. But was there anybody at the Wellsford Rugby Club that you looked after and gave you plenty of encouragement to go to the next level in terms of provincial rugby?
Yes, I had a coach, Adrian Ferris. He coached Northland for a year or two, and he gave me a bit of a real confidence to saying I could get to that next level, and then I've had like just even club players that are real good friends, and that they still give me stick about it, but they always told me that you could be a good rugby player, Rene, if you kind of stick to it. Like, stop hanging around them, having a few too many beers. So yeah, there's a couple of boys there, and I suppose Adrian gave me the decent crack at playing club at Wellsford. I was playing Tom Ryder for like three or four seasons in their prems when I was like 16, 17 years old. So no, it was good though.
And just in terms of some of the relationships you forged at Wellsford as well, the Wright brothers, also Paddy Joe Aikens, big part of your life, those chaps?
Yeah, we went to school together, and me and Ross are the same age, and I always pushed them because we were in the academy together, and there was always good props and hookers. When we were coming up, you had Tim Dow and Jamie and stuff like that, Pinder and that like that. So I don't know. I just kind of keep driving him to try and reach his potential of representing Northland. And then you had Matty, who was a year or two under us, and it was just, being together. I suppose we kind of pushed each other to try and play in that Northland together. Being from down here, representing Wellsford and Rene College.
Was there a player in the Northland region, once you started to progress to that provincial level, that you looked at and thought to yourself, wow, he's pretty good, or you've always got to be on guard whether you're playing against him?
Yeah, I suppose there's been a couple of fellows when the likes of Gus Collins and David Horwell, when they Jake Pangaratai, when they were playing, and I got the opportunity to play against them, Hayden Taylor and stuff like that. It's like, oh, these are big names of Northland. So, it was always good to try and play your best against them, because as you started watching Northland, you looked at them and just the way they played, they always went 100%. It was like, that's where you want to be.
I've often said to a lot of people that sometimes when you watch Northland Club rugby, it's a little bit like rugby league. Everybody wants to get their ball in, the ball in their hands and just run hard at the opposition. But you do see a lot of talented guys come out of the region.
Oh, mate, there's plenty up here, because we've got such a big region. It's just getting Northland to focusing more on those outer regions and stuff like that, because, well, I'll tell you, man, there's a lot of talented players up here in the far north. And, when we were first playing club, we were playing right up in Awanui and stuff like that as like a whole competition. They were great players. And like you said, it's almost like league, boys want to get the ball and just run hard. And, I remember how many times I used to come back after Blues and I'll be like, oh, can I play club? I love playing club with your mates. And, they always risk like, oh, we don't want you getting hurt and stuff like this. People always got a target on your head, but I don't know, that's the sort of stuff I like. I love getting hit because, if you hit them back, it's like, mate, they show you a lot of respect coming back playing club.
So are you going to be little sort of side note? Are you going to be playing a bit of club rugby this season?
Yeah, shit, yeah. I think our club season kicks off, and same as when Super kicks off. So we got club training next week, and then with Northland we have our HP trainings. That's going to happen once a week until midway between club or near club. Then we'll start going a bit more. So now all the boys are keen to get me to play because, after coming back from the States, I was just like, I was only just started getting into it when I was playing in the States. So keen to get into some club footy.
Well, let's I'm jumping around a bit here, but let's talk about the States. How did the move to Colorado come about?
Well, the coach Peter Borlase, he played down in the Crusaders and the Highlanders, and one of our mates, Bronson Murray, played down in the Highlanders and started being good mates with Pete Borlase, and he come up north, up Hurricano, and we were up there camping for a week or so, and they come up and just got to know him through Bronny, just real good mates. And then he'd been in the States for 8 or 9 years, and it wasn't until last year, I think, he got the head coach for the Colorado Raptors, and he just kind of threw a mention out to me, and he was like, "Oh, Rene, what's the chances of coming over and having a stint over in the States?" And then I was like, "Oh, yeah, I could be keen." At the time I've just done my ACL. So I was like, I've just done my ACL, but there was a couple of clubs in Super that were interested at the time. And I was like, I have to wait. If the opportunity doesn't go here, then I'll be keen to come for a stint. And fair enough, didn't quite crack the Super. So, had a bit of a stint in Colorado there.
So what did you make of? You're right. The head coach over there. In the first season they made it to the final. The second season he didn't have such a good season, and hence they changed their head coaches. And obviously this was season 3 that you were going into. How did you find the level of Major League Rugby over there? Similar to say Mitre 10 Cup or club rugby? Where would you judge it?
Yeah, it's similar to Mitre, I guess, but I guess just the skill wise over in the States is not quite as up to Mida, I'd say, but they still try and play like a fast paced rugby there. But the contact there is quite big, just big American boys and stuff like that. But I guess just channeling all their attributes into skills, it's like a kind of a different level. Like they're quite the team I was playing for, the Raptors, the coach would give out a structured, like a format of how we're going to play and stuff like this. But like rugby's rugby, things go out of hand, and then they get confused of trying to go back to playing back to structured rugby, where over here in New Zealand or Mida, you kind of flow with the game, and then you kind of fall back into your shape anyway. So in a way, it's kind of up and down over there in the States, but I can tell it was improving over there.
Yeah, by the sounds of it, what you're saying is, very good athletes, but not quite rugby players yet. So yeah, that's the bit that's going to take some time.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So obviously, unfortunately, the Colorado Raptors have pulled out of Major League Rugby. So I guess you're not going back next year. That was just a 1-year thing.
Yeah, well, I only signed a 1-year contract there, and we actually thought they would still be there in the next year or two, but yeah, we got the email and stuff saying that they've actually pulled out of the whole competition. So yeah, I don't know. Never know. Fucking, I've actually had a couple of other offers from the States, but I'm first and foremost concentrating on Northland season first.
Yeah, no, I've had a chat with Junior, and I've gone blank to his surname, who's playing for Utah as well. So yeah, there's a few of you boys, the Ryder 10 Cup boys, going over there now and enjoying that, enjoying the American lifestyle. But coming back to your kind of growth, made it into the Blues in 2009. Got yourself into got a bit of a suspension for a late and a high tackle. Playing with over in South Africa. How did you find your first trip over there playing against the Bulls on the Westerveld at the high altitude?
Yeah, I guess it's pretty freaky. Look at the South African boys. Like they were huge fellas, and then the high altitude was just, first kind of season. It was just like a bit of a shock to the system, and I don't know. I just thought, since I've got the starting spot, I might as well just grab it with both hands. I don't know, just try and hit these big fellas, like it was pretty tough. Like, I think that game, it was lucky, with that high tackle, I wouldn't say high, but it was a good hit. But one of the South African locks kneed my eye, and I got a fractured eye socket. So in a way, the suspension kind of worked, because it took me about a week to come right before I could fly. So I think we played the Stormers the following week.
Right.
And I couldn't fly, so I had to drive from Pretoria all the way to Cape Town. It was like 18, 19-hour drive.
That's it.
It was unreal.
Rene, I must ask you about the South African mentality. We have a correspondent, John O'Connor, and we always speak about the South African teams, especially at home. They're probably a little bit like France. When they play at home, they play like men possessed. Do you find them a little bit different when they travel away, or pretty much the same?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Like, I think the South African teams are getting better playing away now. I think like those few years ago, they were always, they played unreal. Like, they had a good crowd, a good fan base in South Africa. But then again, like when New Zealand was playing there, like a lot of the South Africans love New Zealand teams, so it was always going to be a tough game playing over there. And similar to here, like being in a New Zealand team, you're always expected to try and play as well as you in. And it's almost they're adapting to like New Zealand and even Australia. Like the South African teams are playing well these days, home and away.
And I've got to ask you about playing the local New Zealand teams as well. In recent times, we hear a lot of New Zealand players say, "Wow, these local derbies are as physical as they get. They're tough, and they're almost at test match level." Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, you're playing another New Zealand team. It's almost a trial match for the All Blacks. So, and it's that high intensity. It almost does feel like a test match, and then it almost brings the best out of the both derby teams. Like that they want to express themselves, and then again, like I wouldn't say we're not as big as the South African boys, but these Kiwi boys are pretty physical at the same time. We've grown up playing rugby at such a young age that we're almost immune to big hits and stuff like that, I reckon.
During your career with, sorry, Paul, just a quick question. During your career with the Blues, there was also obviously a lot of speculation just before you went to Montpellier that the Warriors had spoken to you. Was there any stage during your rugby career that rugby league was an option?
Oh, yes and no. I think it probably wasn't even before the Montpellier. I think it was before I re-signed with Blues again that I had some interest in playing league from a couple of agents, but I think I might have been like mid-20s, maybe late to the mid-20s, and I got offered. But at that time of the stage, I thought rugby was, I quite enjoyed playing rugby, and I just thought if I switched to playing league, I think it'll take me, a year or two to try and get used to it. So I just kind of just stuck to rugby instead. I quite enjoy rugby a bit better.
So you had that, let's say 2009, you got your trips with the Junior All Blacks, playing Samoa, Fiji, Japan, Tonga. I think you played in 3 of those games. And then the next year, the All Blacks come knocking. So what was it like taking that step up then from the Blues environment to the All Blacks environment? How did you find that switch?
Oh, it was unreal. Like, playing Blues and then made the Junior All Blacks back then. It was like, it was surreal. And then, the following year in 2010, I had a pretty good super season. And then, like, I didn't even. I actually got called in for injury cover when we were down in Hamilton. When it was a Steinlager series back then, I think, and we played Wales. And I didn't actually think I was going to get a game. I just come in for training. It was like the last game of that series. And fair enough, I got picked. When I just stood on the bench, and I was stoked there. So I called my auntie and my uncle to come down and watch. My mum was up north; she couldn't quite make it. But it all happened pretty fast. I trained on the wing all week, and then I ended up going in at centre. So I was nervous at the same time. I was like, oh, I've only done a couple of trainings at centre because Conrad got injured. So I was like, I reckon I had a pretty all right game. I think I played like 30 minutes, maybe 30 or 20 minutes. And then, fair enough. The next day, getting ready to jump in my car, head back up north. And then I think a coach or the manager come down and was like, oh, were you off to, Rene? I'm like, oh, I'm off home. And they're like, oh, we've just announced the Tri Nations and you got picked. And I was like, oh, I actually had no clue. I was just like, sweet, I'm there for a game.
So you could have driven away and been halfway up to Auckland, had a phone call. Oi, get back here.
Yeah, pretty much. It wasn't until I got into the elevator with my suitcase and I seen them, they must have the media conference and stuff like that. And I was stoked to play my first cap. So I was like, yes, sweet. But, I didn't hear anything after that. So I was like, oh, well, time to go home. And then, fuck, you're in the Tri Nations squad, Rene. So I was like, fuck, I was stoked there. So I stuck around. So look, it sounds like you're kind of like, yeah, I'm playing club footy. Hey, I'm now playing minor 10. I'm now sort of semi-pro. Oh wow, I'm now a sevens. At which stage do you start actually believing in yourself that, hey, look, I am actually international class. I'm good. I can do this stuff, as opposed to just kind of like, wow, it's a surprise I've got the next level kind of thing. Yeah, well, I suppose, when they're 2010 and then cracking their Tri Nations is like, holy crap, I'm here. Like, I'm actually good enough to play with these fellas playing international. So, I thought I played well. And then I guess the following years, it was the World Cup or something. And I kind of missed out. I kind of just missed out on that. So, I don't know, you kind of get on a bit of a mental downer, you don't want to play as good or whatnot. And then I guess you just try and play Super Rugby. You try and play great Super Rugby, but there's always younger fellas coming in playing well. So it's kind of hard mentally and physically just to try and stay at that high standard, for that All Black international. And I thought I was playing great Super Rugby, and then I guess it wasn't until John Kerwin became the head coach for the Blues in 2013, and then I had another great season, and then I got picked for that French series, so I was pretty stoked.
So were the All Black selectors talking to you, and were they telling you why you weren't why you kind of missed out on a few games over those couple of years?
Yeah, no, not really. I never really got much feedback, really. So I just kind of thought they lost interest in me. I just thought they were picking the other players that were stepping up. So all I could do myself was just try and play the best I can be as fit as I can be. And then, just back in 2010 when I got picked for the Tri-Nations, I didn't know anything about it. It was kind of similar to that leading up to the to 2013 where I made the All Blacks again. So I never really got kept in the loop as much so as probably other players, but I guess that's rugby. It's always up and down.
So the coach you had at the Blues there. So what that would have been? You mentioned John Kerwin came in, and before that was Pat Lam was there. So they weren't sort of handing down saying, "Hey, look, work on this," and or we think you're in the talks. There was nothing from them, or they weren't kept in the loop either.
Well, I guess when I was with Pat Lam before John Kerwin, I can't really recall him telling me what I had to work on for the All Blacks. It was just a matter of Blues focus at the time, and at the time that's what I was doing. I was just focusing on the Blues. I thought those opportunities were gone with the All Blacks, so I thought I was there or thereabouts coming into that World Cup, but I think I probably got the phone call saying I wasn't going to make it. That was about it. So,
wow, I always thought there'd be more communication than that going on. And then, so when did you decide to go, or how did the Montpellier move come about?
Yeah, so that was 2013. It was this is when I think Steve Hansen ended up taking over head coach, I think, and then I hit him up. I had, I think Darren Wickham was a Northland coach at the time as well, and then Darren just told me, he's like, mate, if you want to start getting, some answers, you might as well just ring him up. So I rang him up. I rang up Steve Hansen. I just asked him, I was like, oh, mate, what's the chances of, of cracking this All Black team? Like, what have I got to do and stuff like this? And even then, it was pretty blunt. Hey, I got pretty much nothing. Hey, I was like, he was just like, mate, just try and have a good super season. So I was like, oh, sweet as. I thought I never really got too much information on that year. And then, the opportunity came up in Montpellier. And then I was, in a way, too good to turn down. I was, getting between my late 20s, started thinking about my family. And, rugby overseas is quite good, with the old paycheck, So, I took that opportunity with both hands. And then, out of nowhere, I guess just mentally not concentrating on the All Blacks, I had a good season with the Blues, and I ended up getting picked for the All Blacks for that French series. So I was just like, far out. If you had told me at the start of the season maybe I would have delayed the Montpellier option.
Yep.
Because I got nothing, I was just like, oh well, I better start thinking for myself and my family. And then after the French series, I ended up getting picked for the end of year tour or something.
The Tri Nations again, I think it was. Yep.
Yeah, Tri Nations or something. Yeah. And then I told them, I was like, nah, I'll play for Northland instead, bro. Might as well focus on someone else. And they were trying to make it work. Like, I gave kudos to Steve and all the management and stuff. They were like, when they signed to France, there would have been a fee if I had to get out of that contract. So I signed like a pre-contract.
Yep.
But I wasn't going to pay that much to fucking sign out of that.
Yeah.
So he was just like, we can make it work for the Tri Nations and stuff like this for you, Rene, like to organise your visa and stuff like this. And I just thought, nah, I've just had my firstborn. I was like, oh, I'll just stay home and play for Northland if that's all good. And then he kind of agreed, and he was pretty happy for me to do that.
Cool. And I think my experience of the All Black sector, as long as there's been communication, that on the whole they're kind of pretty good with. I mean, there's been a couple that have gone overseas they've not been happy about, with like Charles Piertow and Luatua. But if that conversation's there, they seem to wish you well. So it's good. It's good that you guys parted on good terms.
Oh yeah,
the other thing that people don't.
Coach.
Sorry.
I see. Yeah, no doubt. Shag was a great coach when I had him with 2013, and I had a lot of info from him back then. Where back in 2010, I was with Graham Henry, Sir Graham, and yeah, just not much conversations or information back then. So, which is all good.
That's interesting because they don't. The being part of the three wise men, I think a lot of us see them as being pretty similar. Or from the outside, they look pretty similar types of coaches. You're saying that they're very that Ted and Shag have got very different styles of coaching.
Oh, I reckon. I guess when I was under Graham Henry, when he was the coach, but he was a serious fella, but he was was a good bloke to talk to. And back then, I was really intimidated by Shag. And then you had Wayne, was it Wayne Peters? Wayne Smith?
Wayne Smith.
Wayne Smith and Wayne Smith. Wayne Smith was just he was just a real open, calm, loves a good chat. And I was real intimidated by Steve. And then 2013, like Steve Hansen was just a real different dude back then, man. Like such a good fella to talk to. Like loves giving a little bit of stick, So, and then I guess the coaching wise I reckon it was a lot different from 2010 to 2013. Just a different format of playing and different, just another step of higher level of skills back then. It was just unreal.
It sounds like you enjoyed the environment in 2013 when you had a bit more, I guess, a bit more experience. You enjoyed it a lot more the second time round than the first time round when it was all a bit scary.
Yeah, exactly. Like being a young fella just coming out of nowhere, you're rooming with Richie McCaw, captain and stuff. It's just like far out. Like you kind of know your place. You kind of know your place quite early when you're first in the team, and then as a couple of years or a few years get by, you mature a bit better and you learn to speak up a bit more. And I actually enjoyed it way more back then in 2013.
And then I guess that point you make about having your first kid, a lot of people don't kind of get how much travel you guys have to do with the rugby, with the Tri Nations. Was also one of the reasons for going to Montpellier the sort of actually being at home some of the time, and not having to travel quite so much, or was that not really on the radar at that point?
Oh, it was just at that point of the time. It's just in a way, you're in New Zealand Super and stuff. You're away quite a bit. In France, they said when your family's there, you've got a first kid, like over there, if you play away, you fly back the same day. So you're just at home a lot more over in France. And then you get, when they have the Six Nations and stuff like that, the top 14 competition or the European, like that, you get like a week off, so you get a bit more extra time with your family, even though the season's longer over there. Like, you probably have more time with your family there, and then the money's better over there at the moment, so you kind of click it together, and it's just like sweet ease.
Rene, I've got a question just in and around the style of game that they play in Montpellier. I watched quite a bit of your rugby when you went over there, and I always look at French club rugby, and it kind of looks like a war of attrition, especially in the forwards. They look like they love bashing into each other, and sometimes for outside backs, it can be maybe difficult to get ball in your hands, basically, so to speak, and basically, show the potential that you got. But did you find that a bit frustrating at times?
Oh, it did. It did at the start, and then, when the contract come by and they're talking about Montpellier, how they like to play a good open game and stuff like this, and then you kind of get there and it wasn't like that. It was just like you said, like, you got big Georgian props and all this sort of stuff, and they love they scrum for penalties. It's and being out on the outside back, it's like, you've either got to go looking for the work, or else you're kicking. You're chasing kicks, so it's they have an expectation on you, how to what they've seen in super rugby, or with international, and then you try and play that platform that you've been doing over there, and then they've just got a whole different kind of system and expect you to play at their level, but you're still trying to adapt to how they're kind of playing. So, there were some games where we could play some open rugby there when it was a lot drier, and then when it got wet, it was just full on forwards, crash bash. So it got frustrating at times, but being over there was like another players say it. It's a good mental challenge, to challenge yourself, playing out of your comfort zone, and you kind of, in the years come, you kind of benefit from it. You get that experience, and it was good. Like, I enjoyed it, but as you said, frustrating at times.
Who were you?
And I know you're
some Montpellier. Who was the coach?
It was Fabien Galtier.
Okay,
international halfback.
Yeah, I was
new French coach now.
I was wondering if it was when Jake White was there, but no.
Yeah, I was there when he came. He come there as like a overseeing type of thing, and then next minute, Fabian ended up getting the sack, and then I got coached with him for kind of one season. And he's a good coach. His format of playing was real simple, and I quite enjoyed it. Like, some players didn't, because he was the type of coach that brought a lot of Saffers like straight away. So a lot of the French boys didn't kind of like it, but I kind of got along with him all right.
just in terms of some of the stuff that you were missing back home, and I know what your answer is going to be, but for anybody who is probably watching the stream or will tune in, what were the things that you were missing from home while you were in France?
Oh, I guess just the seafood back at home, the hunting, the outdoors. I was in the south of France, so it was like, you had the beach there and stuff like that, but you try and go and eat a kinner over there. The kinners are only like this small,
Yeah.
So even the mussels were just tiny. So yeah, I guess you just kind of miss those delicacies at home. Of going out fishing, going out hunting. Even having like a meat pie or something. You didn't quite have that in France. So it's just local Kiwi boys. What they always miss when they always go overseas. And then you had family. You always miss your family, but you had Skype back then and whatnot.
I'm a bit surprised about the hunting side though, because my parents live in France, just not far from La Rochelle, and there are wild boar hunts. They get invited to the wild boar hunt dinners and that kind of stuff. So, and there is the French do have a culture of hunting as well, don't they? Or I don't know if you.
Oh yeah, most definitely. In some places, well, I played in La Rochelle, and to go hunting in La Rochelle, where I was, I think it was about an hour away to go to a hunting spot. But like, you know, a lot of those players weren't really into hunting when I was in the team. Like, a lot of them did a lot of like bird shooting and stuff like that. But it was kind of hard to try and get into the momentum of trying to get to know people that hunt boars and stuff like that over there. Because like, yeah, like you got France and Europe. Yeah, so it's just finding the opportunity to go and hunt there.
You've also got your barbarian game there over there. I guess what's one of your sort of favourite memories of games, or one of your favourite games you've played?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I think it was a game we played against Clermont. Might have been that game where I got Sinbin. I tackled Morgan Parra or whatever. Because there's a big emphasis in France when they play away that they never send a strong team.
Yep.
And yeah, we played in Clermont. We had a pretty average team. You know, Clermont are the big dogs over there, and you know we managed to beat them, and it was just like it was unreal. I think I might have been to make the top 6. I can't quite remember. I think it was, but I think that was a real memorable game against Clermont. And then I think our semi-finals we played against Cast, and yeah, we just missed out on that game. Like we should have won it, but you know, being Frenchy, you know, they take a few things too serious sometimes.
I gotta say, since your kind of Montpellier days, it was great to see you come back to Blues. But it does seem that you've the sort of since 2015ish, you've had a whole series of injuries which kind of slowed you down or held back your progress. Has that been a bit of a struggle, sort of on the mental side as well, having to sort of recover and come back from so many injuries?
Yeah, that's probably been one of the biggest challenges after coming back from France. Whether it's just going back into the high intensity trainings, and then, you know, I was quite thankful I didn't have too many injuries before then. You know, like I played a fair few games, and then yeah, literally coming back. I think from France, the first time I had neck surgery, and then I just come right for the Blues. I signed back with the Blues. Literally 5-6 games into it, I did my ACL. So then I was out for that season, and then I was out for my season, and then I think the following season I did my ankle, and then here it got frustrating, and then like, you know, what kept me motivated was just keep training, trying to come back better and stronger, you know, because the games I did come back from injuries, it was just like, you know, I think I played real well, you know, and then for that second year, like, you know, could have been injuries that played me out of being re-signed again, but you know, it's one of those 50-50s. You know, you can't blame the coaches, you can't blame yourself. It's just like, you know, back then I thought loyalty was quite big, but you know, sometimes it's not. And then yeah, you go back overseas, and then yeah, just coming back another 2 ACLs, like, mate, it's been unreal. Like the amount of injuries I've had lately, it's, you know, hopefully I'm done with them.
Yeah, so you only played like 11 games in 2 seasons for the Blues. You only got 7 games for La Rochelle. I mean, look, they're like a 38-40 game season, and you only managed 7 games over there. 3 games for the Red Dolphins, and I guess that's Japan. I think you only that 1 game for the Sunwolves. Yeah, it has been a real Colorado. You get 4 games in, and suddenly they cancel the season. You're just looking
Yeah,
good.
I
It
know,
all, or the coronavirus comes. So you're both all fit and healthy now?
yeah, and like you said, had that one game with the Sunwolves injured, and then I was hoping to come back to play for the Taniwhas back then, but they said, no, don't risk it, Rene. Like, you just come back from an ACL and then, get the opportunity to play in the States. And then, yeah, I started finding my game back. Played like you said, 3 or 4 games and slowly finding my form back, which was pretty encouraging. And then, yeah, for the old virus, the old kick in, it's almost like another injury. You got to wait again for the next opportunity to play again. Like, yeah, it gets frustrating, but it's I guess mentally it's challenging. Like, do you put your head down or do you just wait for that next opportunity and just try even harder?
Rene, one season that you looked like you were really, really enjoying it. It was a season that you teamed up with Jack Goodhue in the midfield for Northern, was 2017. And you looked like you were having a lot of fun that season with a team that was playing some really good rugby.
Yeah, when we found out Jack was coming back up north, and he was carving up for the Crusaders back then, and there was a few of us boys knew that he was gonna come to be an All Black. We all said, mate, you're gonna be an All Black, bro. And then for him to play with, and get all his knowledge from down in the Crusaders and bring all his info, and then we had Dan Pryor and the Pryor brothers. We had a pretty strong, solid side, and I think that was the first time we made the semis in a while. So, I guess just the environment, we just a good bunch of boys, and we kind of clicked together, and we just missed out. But no, that was a great year. Like, a lot of the boys enjoyed that year.
And last time you played for the Taniwha was back in 2018. You're sitting on something like about 86, 87 games. And of course, we spoke about the injury, which probably curtailed another 8 or 9 games in last year's season. How important would it be for Rene Ranger to get to that 100-game mark for the Taniwha?
Yeah, it's been on my head, It meant a lot, to try and crack that 100, get those games up with those other legends, the likes of Bronson, Hayden Taylor, Gus, David, I've got Ross, Ross is surely going to get his 100 this year. I've been playing longer than him as well, so he's kind of pipped me on the tallies, but I mean quite a bit. It'd be pretty a special moment to try and get the old 100 games for the old Taniwha. So we'll see. Hopefully that comes.
So, Rene, 33. How many more years do you reckon you got in you, and also what have you got planned for post playing career? Have you thought about what you'll be doing next?
Yeah, I'd like to try and play as long as I can, while the body's feeling better after all these injuries. So, I'd like to kick on, say, another 2 or 3 years, the goal to try and crack the 100 again, and, it'd be another goal to try and crack Super again. But, if that opportunity comes, I might look aboard again. But it's getting to that stage where, life after rugby, you got to start looking at. So, I haven't thought too much of life after rugby at the moment, where I have a mate, he works doing retaining walls and fencing, stuff like that, or try and get into I'm really keen to get into the drain laying business. So try and start a business of doing some drain laying. It's a good job. It's outdoors. The coin's not too bad too, I guess. But yeah, haven't really quite thought of it so far. Like, my wife keeps reminding me, it's like, you got to start sorting something out after rugby, or else. She tells me to, try and do the coaching course and stuff like that. But you do coaching, if you get to that level, you're away from home again anyway. So it's like, well, do you really want to be away from home? I think about maybe coaching I just like that. It's a bit stressful. I can imagine the coaches trying to coach me. It would have been pretty stressful. So I don't think players would even listen to me.
Oh no.
Thank you very much for your time, Rene. It's been an absolute pleasure, folks. We're now going to do a name association game with him. You'll be able to get access to that over on drivingmore.com as a little bit of an extra. But Rene Major, thank you so much for coming on to I both look forward to watching the Mitre 10 Cup, and maybe, hey, we might sneak up for a club game before then as well. So thank you very much for that. Don't forget, folks, like the Facebook page, New Zealand Sport Radio. You can also listen to it on the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all those places. Just search New Zealand Sport Radio.